What if I told you the most powerful tool in your classroom is not your textbook, but it's differentiation at a click of a button? In today's episode, I'm talking with the head of community at Quizizz, Kyle Niemis. He's a former middle school teacher who's leading the way in transforming classrooms using EdTech that actually works. If you ever felt overwhelmed in trying to meet the needs of the different learners in your class, especially your English language learners, as well as students with IEPs, well, this conversation is for you. What Kyle and I discussed today will save you hours of time and multiply your impact. We're going to dive into Quizizz and how it's using artificial intelligence and how it is using it to help differentiate your classroom, your assessments. And then also it is to simplify your lesson creation process and also provide instant feedback for your students. Now, if you want to engage your students and empower them, please stick around. So if you're ready to save time, you're ready to spark joy, if you're ready to transform how you teach, stick around, hit the subscribe button. Let's get into it.
Transforming lives. Inspiring stories from educators worldwide. Impact happening worldwide. Your transformation starts here.
I want to go ahead and jump into this. My next guest is Kyle Niemis, and yeah, and when we look at this whole idea of 50 educators from 50 states, you're talking to educators on how and looking at the impact. You're looking at what's happening in their school, in their state. But today's episode, I get the joys of looking at a platform that I fell in love with as an educator. And I'm able to talk to the head of the community, right? Of Quizizz. So welcome, Kyle, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, definitely. So usually I ask the guests, how is the weather in where you are?
Well, I'm in Jersey, so it should be warm, but we're still just fighting to get into that spring weather. So it's 40 something degrees and cold and windy. And again, I just keep waiting for that warm weather to come.
Right. Yeah. It seems that it's happening all over the United States. The weather is pretending, right? So we need the real weather to show up. All right. So we're going to jump right in with our first question. So you've had a significant experience as a teacher, and now the head of community at Quizizz. What motivated you to shift from the classroom teacher to the educational technology leader? And what keeps you excited about the role?
Oh man, there's a lot of good questions packed into that one question, right? So I'll say quick background. I taught middle school science for 13 years, and I was a tech coach for 3 years, and it was awesome. Like, I feel like if there's any middle school teachers who are listening right now, they're probably in the same boat where most people don't go to middle school on purpose. You kind of end up there. And I was absolutely the same way. I was an elementary major. I thought I'd be a fourth grade teacher. And long story short, I ended up in middle school, and I got there and quickly found out, oh, this is actually pretty amazing. So I loved it. Like, I truly, truly loved it. I love just the kids. I love the challenge of it all. And so I said I did it for a long time. And then I love taking chances and trying to be innovative. And it's funny, like, I think a lot of times people assume because was a tech coach and now I work for a tech company that I'm like super techie. But the reality is, like, outside of like work and school hours, like, I'm pretty like off screen. I'm definitely like an outdoor, close the computer, let me get outside, don't put anything in front of me. And so I definitely am not someone who's in love with technology. I think I'm more in love with trying to find creative ways to reach students, and technology just happens to be probably the most efficient new way to do that, which kind of led me to a lot of different, avenues within teaching. So I'm kind of, I'll get to your answer. So that was my journey. I loved it. And so the reason I say that is I started to feel like I was ready for that next chapter. And it was such a weird, like, feeling because I love the students and I love what I did. Um, but like I said, I love the newness and I love the challenge. And I think anyone who's ever met me, the idea I did anything for 16 years being in a classroom is
Right.
pretty
Yeah.
wild for my personality. So I think a lot of it was looking for that next new exciting thing and working at a company who I loved to use in the classroom and I value their what they stand for was such an incredible opportunity and I was insanely lucky that I was able to get this role and now I get to support amazing teachers all the time and I have my new set of challenges every single day which are really fun.
Yeah. And that's interesting that as a tech person, I guess I'm learning to step away because I love technology. If you could look at my desk right now, this L-shaped desk is nothing but technology on there. But I'm learning to pull away from it and find the value in what's happening outside of this technology. So I can definitely um, agree that you need to take those moments and and step away because there's value beyond the technology. So it's good to hear um, someone that's already figured it out and is applying it. That's cool.
I promise you, I've not figured it out, and I think we're all figuring it out together. But I'm always curious about that. Right? If you walk into a classroom and you see, or you walk into a school and you see, let's just say like 4 or 5 teachers who are just crushing it with their use of educational technology.
Hmm.
I would bet that most of them are in that same boat where like they're less concerned about like loving tech and for tech's sake, and they just love new innovative ways to reach students. Don't you think?
Right. Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah. So that's typically what it is. And it's two roads. I mean, two thoughts on that. If you do find those teachers that love it, they love the efficiency of it, and love the production that comes with it. And when they find their lane, they're going to stay in it. And that innovation is just beautiful. It's beautiful to see because sometimes you look at it within your scope or your lane, but to see it in somebody else's. And the unique thing about it is when you are able to see it in the different schools in Mississippi. I love it. I love to see it. And but then you have the other side where it's almost like this stiff arm, like, no, put your technology over here and let me have my way here. So it's those two lanes that are very different and unique.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Like, and I'm going to ask you a question here, Tony. So I think, like, when I think, like, the part of your question too is like, what keeps me excited, right? And I think,
Hmm.
as far as part of my role, like, I love the fact that we get to really help students and help
Right.
teachers every single day. And there's always kind of been like a little bit of a debate within the Quizizz team of like, who do we help more, teachers or students? And I know that sounds like kind of a silly question, but it's like right now, I think probably more than ever, right? Teachers have more on their plate than ever and have a
Right.
million things to do. So we hopefully really, really help teachers of like, hey, listen, you can grab something on Quizzes. It's free, it's pre-made. Like
Yeah.
save yourself that half hour of making something yourself, right?
Right. Yeah.
But then also we hopefully bring that joy to those students and these new differentiation options that allows us to get to those students. So like we do both. And I'm not sure which one we really do better, right? But my question I was going to ask you when it comes to like what's the main reason you think most teachers will use educational technology? Is it to do something innovative and different? Like let's say a extreme example of that is like let's use technology to have a mystery Skype with someone in Argentina, right? This really cool,
Yeah.
amazing use case, right?
Right.
Or the less exciting option is let's use AI to create a lesson plan for me because I don't want to create lesson plans. Like that's less exciting, but it's just like it fulfills a need and saves them time versus do something wild and creative. Where do you think most people fall on that? You think most people are just trying to use it practically to save themselves some time or trying to do big ideas?
Yeah. I think it's more practically through the expectations, the responsibilities that they have on a daily basis of to push. And I'm speaking in terms of from in terms of my role I'm a math consultant and I visit different schools and you see it in that aspect where it is used as a tool to gather data, it is a cool tool to provide instant feedback. Um, however, have been exposed to it used on the other spectrum, after school programs, where they're able to um, experience something or a place out that they haven't traveled to. So is that
Mhm.
France or China, and you're able to see the learning come alive. So I've seen it on both aspects, but more in the practical sense in everyday schools.
Yeah, and I think, to be honest, that's how I've seen it. I think it's been a shift, and again, I don't know if you've seen it too, but I would say pre-COVID, right, when EdTech was coming out and all these new
Right.
platforms, and like again, me as a tech coach, like I spent my days doing those cool Skype things because everyone was like, "This is amazing. Let's use
Yeah.
EdTech to do this thing." So I think it used to be probably more on that one side of
Right.
like let's use innovative new ways to do technology. And I think post-COVID, most people are kind of maybe shifted towards a little bit of the other side of just like using technology to like really just like help save them time in a more practical sense, like you're talking
Hmm.
about, which again is I think equally valuable, just a different use case.
Right. Yeah. And exposure is powerful, because when you expose, because sometimes you don't know how to use it in those innovative ways, right? So if you had, you know like now, other platforms, like YouTube, that is the new encyclopedia.
Mm.
That is so, where you're going on to search. So instead of going to this book, you now can go on YouTube and you're going to find a video that is on your level, where it is, whether there's a well put together video or where there's a video that's just, um, you know, I would say on the amateur level, where it's just somebody taking their phone out and just, both are valuable. So when someone's exposed to it, innovation now opens up much wider. So yeah, I definitely understand you. Yeah, I can
Yeah.
see that.
But it's
Um,
cool. To wrap up this question, I suppose, is like that's what brings me joy every day is I get to see what quizzes can do for teachers and for students, and again, like on both sides of that coin. And then of course I'm just very involved in the ed tech world, and I love seeing what all the AI and other stuff is doing in that world too. So it's just like, I don't know, it's a really cool time to see people using ed tech in a lot of creative ways.
right. Yeah, and thank you for sharing that, because I I grapple with that a lot, because staying excited in roles like that, you have to have forward thinking. And sometimes it gets, um, you have to think about what's the next best, what is the next best thing that's coming out, and stay abreast on everything that's happening. And sometimes that can be a experience within itself, but it pays off, because if you're staying ahead, and once people get to that point, you're like, oh, did you know about this? Did you know about that? You're like, oh, now I can actually be a practitioner in this now.
Yeah. And I'm gonna, yeah, I'll share this with you with the whole excitement piece. I was nervous. Let's be clear. I love quizzes. I love what it stands for. But pre quizzes, I was like, as a tech coach and as someone on kind of social media a bunch, like I was talking about all the amazing different platforms every day. And then I was like, wait, can I talk about one platform all day, every day? Like I love quizzes, but like, will that keep me excited or will I like lose it? And I'm going to answer you honestly, like I haven't lost it. And I'm so grateful I ended up at quizzes because again, I'm not throwing shade at any other ed tech platforms, but quizzes is changing like every single week of like nonstop innovation, listening, something new, something exciting. So like, and my role is to like make sure that the world knows about all the amazing things. So
Right.
like, they've made it really easy for me to continue to be excited about the same platform because it's changing so much.
And that's the whole part of a term that I came became aware of, the acronym SAMR,
Mhm.
of until COVID. I had no idea about it, but how do you take something, and that moves us kind of, into our next question. How do you take a a concrete, basic idea, and how do you transform it?
Mm.
And I can say Quizizz is one that I wholeheartedly agree. I see it happening all the time, where, just, I think I was looking at a video and you were talking about how you can take, um, a particular lesson, and you can simply press this button, and you're able to get a different variation of that lesson.
Mm.
That's huge in the bigger scheme of things, because when I was doing it by hand, you're like, oh, like, how do I do this yet keep the children involved in this process? In the end, have some valid data to sit down and have a conversation around. That's a lot.
Yeah. And it's cool you brought that up, the whole SAMR model, right? Because I think that there's definitely folks who will get out there and be like, listen, like you shouldn't be using tech for that S. Like it shouldn't just be substitution. Like you need to get all the way down to the A, the M, the R. And like I think they're right. But what you just said, right? To me, it was still a substitution, but a really, really good one. Like if you're able to take a worksheet that you had to grade and print out a different color for a different kid, and now it's digital, it's still kind of the same idea, but holy cow, like what an amazing time saver, what an amazing way to get instant feedback. So I don't know. I think there's still some power in just like doing that S with technology sometimes really well.
I agree. And when we talk about implementation, when you have these ideas, number one, you're putting a shiny object in front of an individual that may be overwhelmed with the shiny object. And you have to convince them mentally to say, number one, you can use it, because number one, there's a barrier there that says, oh, this is technology and this happened to me with technology, da 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 da. And you have to get over that barrier. And now I agree with you wholeheartedly. The whole idea of substitution is a win. It is a huge win, because then now they take ownership of it. Sometimes we forget about that with adults. That whole idea that they're still learners. Adult learning is well, adult learning is different, because it is not. Sometimes we take principles that we may see with student learning and apply those with adults, and we have to modify our approach. So substitution, I agree. Yeah, it is. It is a huge step forward, because if you're doing something different than you did on last week, I consider that a win.
Yeah. If you did it in half the time, right? Wait, but can I actually combine both your questions into the next thing I would love to talk about?
Yeah.
So you asked about exciting, and then you also kind of teased this like new thing with differentiated versions. Like I feel like I want to make sure out of all the million things that quizzes can do, if anyone's listening to this right now, like, or actually not if anyone, whoever is listening to this right now, I think if there's one thing I'd want you to like, the thing that I'm most excited about, and the reason I'm so proud to work at Quizzes is because of the way that like we have these new differentiation things coming out. And so if you don't mind, can I just like actually just tell you like the two things that I'm just really
Sure.
excited about?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the one is what you just talked about. I sent out a tweet, I made a video. It's like slowly rolling out right now, where you can take one version, click a button, and all of a sudden now you have a different version that's at an easier reading level, reduce questions, and then like assign them both with the exact same link.
Mhm.
And so like, kids get different versions of the same material. Um, but the second piece is it's been out now for a little while now. And I'm going to a science conference this week. I'm going to NSTA. And whenever I go to a conference, I show AI and I show all the bell, the whistles, all kind of things. But this is the thing that makes the jaw drop, and it has nothing to do with AI or something insane like that. And
Mhm.
what it is we have accommodations on quizzes, and I don't think any other platform has something like this. And it's one of those things that like when I joined quizzes, I was like, I love quizzes, but like if we can do this one thing, that'll take us to the next level. And so what that is this idea that you have a group of students and you can make sure that like every student joins the same code, right? Okay, come on,
Mhm.
we're doing quizzes, come on, join. But then the student who has Spanish as their first language has all the questions read in Spanish to them. And the kid who's got an IEP that says, I need reduced answer choices, well, they only get two choices instead of four, and the questions are read aloud to that student. So like if you're an administrator walking in their room, it looks like everyone's doing quizzes, but every kid is getting it in the different version depending on what they need for either again IEPs or just simply whatever other needs. Like even their leaderboard is turned off because they get anxious by like
Yeah.
scores. Like
Right.
that's and I don't think, and again, not saying anything about any other tool, but I think most platforms are still, hey, join a quiz. It's super fun and everyone's doing the same thing. And to me, this is why I'm so proud of the work that we're doing here, because we're like getting one step closer to really trying to meet those different needs of students. So I have to say that.
Oh, no, no. I am glad you shared that. And this is going to be earmarked and going to be put out, because let me tell you, that's huge for educators, because you essentially have a assistant teacher in your classroom. That's basically what has happened, because to navigate what you just said is not an easy task.
No.
It is not an easy task. Um, yeah, you got me excited. So what's going to end up happening is, because I know the troubles, or troubles, the hardships that teachers have. Number one, as you talked about, for a different language. Okay. Number one, they don't know the different language. So that student is sitting in that classroom and not getting the proper instruction. Bam, check off. We now have some support for that. But then also, if you talk about IEPs, okay, you got to go through and eliminate some of the answer choices. Like that's more than 2 or 3 planning periods, and then some time after school, and you're not willing to invest that. Yeah. So I'm glad you shared that, because I use Quizizz in centers.
Mm. So Tony, you were
And,
saying that you support first year teachers a lot, and I was saying how, like, I know for me as a first year teacher, probably I'm sure yourself, right? The biggest challenge is just like you spend all the time, you do a lesson, and then it's like, oh, you got to do it again the next day and the next day. And it's like, wait, when does this end, right? And like that's the biggest challenge.
yeah.
And then someone comes in like, hey, listen, make sure you're differentiating for your students too. And you're like, oh my gosh, I'm just trying to like make sure that like I get to school and I have a lesson. So I think that's why I like it for the first year teachers, and hopefully again the first year teachers that are listening appreciate that too. Is like it like A, you can find the resource and you can differentiate them both like really, really, really quickly. So it kind of hopefully solves both those problems for some new folks.
Yeah, artificial intelligence. How is Quizizz, navigating that lane? And we can kind of dive into just overall, what is AI? What is it doing to our world?
Oh my gosh, we could be here forever just going down that road, right? So I think it was really interesting. I'll just share. I went to a New Jersey conference a couple weeks ago, and there's this like Ignite, like so everyone had like it was like a mini keynote speaker for like a 2-minute each for like 4 different people, and they were all about AI.
Mhm.
And it was so interesting because each one had such a different take on it, right? There were some
Mhm.
people who were like, listen, it's here. We got to deal with it. Let's go. Let's embrace it, right? And then the very next one, I was all riled up. I'm like, you're right. Let's do this, right? And the very next one is like, listen, no one can replace you, no matter how good AI is. Like, it's all
Yeah.
about caring for the kids
Yeah.
so like, don't get sucked into it. Like, do. And it's like, oh, you're right. You're right. You're right. And I was like, right. And it was just so interesting how passionately people feel. And I think we're really at this weird spot where it's not new. And it's like, what do you do? And so I love just watching, and like I'm so curious about like where it's going to be. And I think at this point, it's hard to argue that everyone knows it's coming, right? Or
Right.
it's already here, I guess, right? Like it's here. And so I think you kind of have to embrace it. So I will say the work that Quizizz does, like really quick, like the summary is like I like to call it like the 1-2 like punch. One is it's like we use AI to take anything you already have made. So
Yeah.
your Google Doc, your Google Slide, right? Like your website, your YouTube video, whatever it is. It's like, all right, cool. Like whatever you're using, let's turn it into something fun on Quizizz. So like
Yeah.
there's the AI create piece, which is like such a time saver. But then what I love, and again, I think I'm biased here,
Mhm.
because I think so many people do that create piece. I think that's like, that's pretty standard. Go to ChatGPT, make me a lesson plan, create a meal plan. Like the create piece is, I don't want to say old news. It's terrible, but like that's
Yeah.
happened for a while.
Right. Right. Yeah. No, I agree.
We do this AI enhance, which I really love, which is like, okay, cool. Like, all right, search for whatever topic or make it. But now, how do you use AI to make this the best assessment your kids have ever taken, right? Like, let's be real. Your kids, even on quizzes, it's still reviewing for a test, and they might be like, oh, I don't feel like doing this. So how do you use AI enhance to tweak it? And so you can do fun things like, all right, make it very, very relevant to whatever's important in their life. Make them all sound like Mr. Beast said all these questions, right?
Mm.
Or like you can differentiate it, right? Make sure that it changes again the reading level or whatever it ends up being. And so and you can do one of my favorite ones, and for you as of course math teachers, is like, okay, you found this really cool multiplication one, in a click of a button it says turn all these into real life applications. So it actually hopefully they see like the value and like how it applies to something in real world. So I actually love the idea of like take something and make it even cooler and better for your students. But so that's the kind of the 1-2 punch that I love.
Yeah. And going back to your original statements about the conference, I've wrestled through this whole idea of yes, it is here. I know it's not going to replace teachers wholeheartedly. It should improve their I'm gonna say performance in some aspects. It's not going to replace them because you're going to still need that physical teacher in the classroom, but giving them a different world or different access level, I think that is the impactful part of it. Just with you explaining how Quizizz is using it, um, it's no more the days of okay, all right, I don't have anything, or I need to go to such and such place to find something. Now, once you start understanding how to do prompts and how effective that prompt is, that still gets back to this whole idea of English. Like you can't ELA, you can't move away from it and understanding what you need because it's going to give you back what you asked for. Doesn't
Mm.
necessarily mean that it is most effective. So this whole world of AI, I use it. It is my personal assistance on this podcast journey. It's been very useful and helpful, and I can't deny it. So I don't want anybody thinking that hey, I'm against AI. I love it. It is. I will publicly say it is my personal assistant until I can get one.
Yeah. Can I ask you, with as we're wrapping this up, what is your favorite? Like, what's the AI use case that you use every day or every week? Like, what's your go-to reason that you use AI?
For me, it's going to be grammar.
Me too.
Always, where is there another way to phrase it? Uh, you know, it is always with grammar, and then also it's with some social media of finding relevant um, topics or hearing it from somebody else's perspectives. I think that's another way I use it instead of just having, oh, this is my thought process. Well, what if somebody um, was, especially with new teachers, how do they feel? I understand how they feel in some cases, but it's a little different now than it was back in my time when I started this it's 20 plus years. Oh man, I don't know what I'm saying. 20 years ago, I started out. It is different now and how they approach it. So I use it a lot with those two lanes.
I love the different perspective. I use it for grammar all the time too. I feel like anytime I send something big, but I love that idea of like, okay, this is your perspective, and obviously you're limited by that. So like, what a quick, easy way just to get a glimpse into someone else's perspective. I think that's brilliant. Yeah, we use it a lot because again, especially like with us always asking the community all different things, right? Like, what do you need? What do you want? Like, and we're always like just trying to make sure we do the best we can by our community. And so I love that I can ask the community, 200 people an open-ended question about what's the thing that they really need for math teachers, and then put
Yeah.
that into AI and spit it out and rank it for me. So I use it for the data piece for that. It's helped a ton of time.
All right. So again, we're wrapping this up. I'll pause for a minute. Usually, I give people, a minute time to just kind of close things out. Maybe something you want to share with the listeners. I call it the 2 minute warning. Doesn't necessarily mean it means you can talk for 2 minutes, but just leave the floor open for you.
I mean, I will just say thank you to you, first of all, for having me on. I love just like talking and getting into any kind of amazing conversation with educators. I have to always thank anyone who's listening right now, because like you're the reason that my job is so amazing and so fun, because I get to support everyone and do innovative things. And I've talked a ton about quizzes and a ton about AI. So I would just say for anyone who hasn't like checked out quizzes, to be my last like, little walking commercial right here. It's been around for 10 years, and a lot has changed in the last year. So if you haven't been for a little while, like a lot of times people still think, like, oh, you're like a gamified platform, kind of like something else. And like a lot has changed in the world of differentiation and different options and all that kind of stuff. So I'd say give it a shot. Come on by if you haven't checked it out for a while. And then I am on X. I am on Instagram, sort of at Kyle Niemis. So you can just hit me up with any questions you have. But no, this was amazing. Thank you for having me.
All right. Thank you so much, guys. And thank you all for joining. This concludes Transforming Lives podcast. 50 educators from 50 states.